What are you willing to give up in order to work a 4-day work week? That might sound like an odd question, but what you're going to find, if you haven't already, is that in order to get to a higher level of income, a higher level of freedom, a higher level of results, there's going to be some things you need to give up. Now, depending on your particular industry, there might be more than the things I'm going to talk about here, but there's 3 things for certain you're going to need to give up. First is you're going to need to give up avoiding doing the most important work. So one of the luxuries that we have if we work, let's say, a 40-hour work week, and especially if we're an employee for somebody else, that somebody else might say you need to get these things done, and we'll get to them kind of when we get to them, and we can avoid the work, and eventually then we might really put in that work. And sometimes you'll see people that the last hour of the day, they really put in some work, and they actually do kind of what they were supposed to do all day, and you'll see them, man, I really worked hard. And they probably only maybe worked for that 1 hour or 2 hours. If you're looking to get more results in less time, you don't have time to be avoiding work. Now, this isn't an absolute. Of course, you'll get better at this over time. And you might eventually get to a 3-day work week if you're looking for a certain income or a certain level of results. But bottom line, you don't have time to mess around and just kind of reorganizing files. Or did you make your sales calls yet? No, I didn't make my sales calls yet because see, I have to alphabetize the people's names. Oh, wait, actually, no, I don't need to alphabetize them. I need to put them in the number by zip code. No, wait, no, I don't need to do that. I need to categorize them by what city they're in. No, make your calls. So the first thing, again, is letting go of avoiding the work that needs to be done. Second thing you need to do is to let go of blame. And blame is when we, of course, say that somebody else is a reason why we couldn't get something done. And this, again, is very common in situations where people are employees. Not that it happens all the time, but it's common simply because it can happen. Because somewhere up here, there's a group of people that maybe are either the creators of the company or the founders of the company, and they're operating at a certain level, and they've helped generate a certain amount of income, and they're now hiring people to hopefully steward over and run this business or parts of this business or do the service department or cook the hamburgers or whatever it might be. And the people at the employee level, if they're not mature enough and if they're not evolving in their work, when things don't go the way they want, they're going to blame. And blame is one of those things that just really takes up your time. So if there is a problem that happens, and then there is the drama in between, or the time where you feel kind of lost, and you're trying to figure out what's going on, and then there's a solution, we want to identify the problem as quickly as possible. We want to spend as little time as possible in the drama section. We want to get right to the solution. Now, what you'll find is people who are very effective will say, I want to find out the problem. Don't even really have time for the drama. Okay, the problem is this. Let's go right to solution, or at least let's get working towards discovering the solution. We may not know the solution. People who blame will spend a lot of time in this area here in the drama section. And what they'll talk about is, we need to figure out why this happened. Now, there is validity to figuring out why it happens so it doesn't happen again. So that's not what I'm talking about, because that's actually part of, in the definition I'm using, that's part of the solution. But if we're talking about spending a lot of time in the why did this? Oh, because she did that or he did that, because they have it out for me, or they're like this, or they don't like, people of my color, or my this, my that, and that might happen. But at the end of the day, if I'm going to solution, even some of these things that happen in the drama area, even if there's some truth to them, if my commitment is to the solution, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on making the solution happen. I'm going to spend a lot less time on the why, and I'm going to focus on the how. How do I make that happen? How do I get to that solution? How do I make those results happen? I'm going to spend as little time as possible here. But people who blame spend time here. So when you want to work a 4-day work week, you don't have a lot of time for here because your clients are not going to pay you to be here. Your employer, if they're experimenting with you working a 4-day work week, if you're spending a lot of time here, they're not going to want to pay you for that. If you're in sales, that's not going to make you money. So there's not a lot of reward there. So that's the second thing. So the first thing was to give up avoiding work you don't want to do that needs to be done. Second thing is letting go of blame. And the third thing, excuses. And excuses are kind of like blame, but excuses are almost a more rational and justified thing. They're not as emotional of drama. They're just a really good explanation why. So see, because this happened, this, that, and the other, and they might be really valid, they might be true, but at the end of the day, they don't get you the result. So somebody might say, well, Wade, there was this traffic jam and I couldn't control it. And on one level, you might say, well, that's kind of like blame. And there's an element of blame and excuses, but it might be legitimate. The person really couldn't get there. So you'd say, okay, how do you set yourself up? If you commute every day to where if traffic jams happen, because they happen sometimes, what do you do with that? How do you do something productive during that time? Do you have your phone list? Do you have your clients' names or numbers or whatever it might be? And so excuses are just a way of more, rather than emotionally explaining things, which is kind of what blame is, where we get emotionally upset and we explain why things aren't working out. Excuses are a little more involved, a little more intellectual, and they're sometimes very clever. But at the end of the day, we didn't get the result. So we might be really good at explaining why something didn't happen, but if it's something we wanted to have happen, then at the end of the day, we're the ones that lose out. So I hope you find this helpful. These are the three things, again: avoiding work that needs to be done, blaming others, and creating excuses. Those three things at least you'll have to give up in order to work a 4-day work week on a consistent basis. There's other things that are unique to your industry, most likely, or your work that you'll find, but those three you have to do, and the more you can do that, the more you're going to see your income, your impact, your influence, and your ability to create the lifestyle you most desire show up in your life. I hope you find that helpful. And as always, if you have any questions in this, email me at wade@4dayworkweek.com. That's wade@4dayworkweek.com. If you need help creating your game plan to start creating your 4-day work week, go to 4daygameplan.com. That's the number 4daygameplan.com. And we have a training video along with a downloadable tool to help you start creating the roadmap of how you're going to create your 4-day workweek lifestyle. This works for you whether you're an employee, an entrepreneur, a freelancer, a business owner, whatever it might be, help you map out where you're going to get and how you're going to start moving in that direction. As always, I look forward to helping you make more money in less time, doing what you do best. Thanks so much for listening.